Thanks for tuning in again, everybody. We're back with your favorite podcast, Luca's Tigers and Bronze, oh my.
What's up, Luca Nation? Today's episode, it might be more conversational than some of the normal episodes in the sense that Cage and I were on the phone right before this. First, let me welcome you guys back to another episode of Luca's Tigers and Bronze, oh my. I'm doing a little circuit tour. I'm getting asked by other podcasts, hey, Andrew, do you want to come on? I did a podcast with these guys, these crypto guys. It's called the Wrecked Podcast, coming out tonight. So I'll share the link if you guys want to listen to me talk about NBA Top Shot and a whole variety of other things. But then I called the big lug over there. He's been shoveling snow for the last 2 days. He's even nice enough to shovel the old lady who lives next door. He's shoveled her snow, popped eight Advil. Went to sleep, woke up, slammed the Dr. Pepper, went back to sleep, and now we're doing an episode. So you're going to get the big grizzly bear here. But we were talking about Shaq cards, and I said no one cares about centers long-term in the market.
Right, so let's set it up.
They're mad.
Let's set it up. Okay, so it's a bigger conversation. We'll get to Shaq in a second. It's a bigger conversation. And without getting into details on cards, we'll talk about the Shaq specifically. But, you know, the market has gotten even crazier than it has been in the last 18 months to 2 years, right? And you had the combination of the Dallas show this weekend and the Golden auction and all the other stuff, and you saw the top blown off with a lot of cards. I mean, an Anthony Davis card sold for 7 figures. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about what's going on in the hobby right now. Mahomes card sells for what it sells for, fine, but Anthony Davis selling for 7 figures. I mean, the Jordan card doing what Jordan card did. And, you know, the LeBron card exploding, Kobe's cards exploding, and basically, you know, the trickle down has impacted a lot of cards out there, right? And if you happen to have any of those cards, any of them, you know, the value of your portfolio has gone up exponentially. Just it appears week over week. So the larger conversation that Andrew and I were having, and you know, what I think is important for you guys to know, we talk about it ourselves just for our own collection, and you know, you guys should bounce it off of us or in the groups or, you know, your friends as well. It's when do you start, and if you start taking money off the table, you know, when do you start grabbing profit? When do you start taking some of your wins? And how do you decide which one of your cards are you taking your profit on? You know, which one, because it's great to make money on these cards. It's great to do your, make some money, make some profit. But, you know, I'll tell you, I also don't like sitting here telling you about the cards that I took profit on, but have just continued to go up exponentially. So you try to decide where are you taking your money and what goes into that conversation. And, you know, one of the cards that I have more than one of is the Shaq PSA 10 1999 Upper Deck card number 1. I had 10 of them at one point in time, and I paid, you know, between $500 and $700 for each one. So I'm well into the profit on them. There's no complaints. But I think I've sold off 6 of them for between, let's call it $2,500 and $3,500 each. So, you know, obviously if I'm into all 10 at 5, you know, or 6, 2 of them made my money back. The other 4 that have sold a profit, and I have 4 that I'm sitting on, right? There's one for auction now with several days left, and it's at $5,000, you know, and what I said to Andrew was that this is just the rising tide lifting all ships. If the Michael Jordan card was $150,000 when Shaq was $2,500, now it's $700,000. Shaq's can go up, maybe not 6x, but you're seeing it trickle down to a whole bunch of other cards. I mean, you're seeing, you know, there's a Dominique Wilkins for sale with a couple of days left, the 86 Fleer, and that card, you know, was consistently $5,000 to $8,000 in auctions. It doesn't come up a lot, but now it's 14 with, you know, plenty of time to go. And if it sells for 20 or 25, it wouldn't surprise me. You see what's happened with the LeBron cards, you know, $36,000 from the 10 they were at, the 1 they were at the year before. Kobe cards going up, you name it. So we focused on Shaq. And what Andrew told me was that Shaq is pumped. And, you know, I agree. I look at him on TNT, you know, with Lefko. Lefko makes people look small. I mean, Lefko's pumped himself. I mean, look at that guy. Yeah, we talk about a handsome dude. He makes Shaq look small. But, you know, he says Shaq's a pumped card. And he and I were getting into it. I said, let's just get on, man. Let's let Luca Nation listen to our back and forth on this. So go ahead, man. Tell me why Shaq is a sell right now.
Well, I talked about Shaq cards. I talked about the Shaq's top card back in like August.
Yeah, that was one of your plays.
I could not have been more wrong on it. I mean, now it's paid off because it was like $400 then. But But I monitored that Shaq market, and there was no demand. And there was so much supply, especially when it came to the Topps base card from 1992. Just the white one, Topps border, not the Topps gold. Everyone, as soon as cards go up in value, especially they go to their attic and they pull out, 50 of them, 60 of them. You see them all over the place. And all of a sudden, that Shaq Topps PSA 10 from 1992, after I think it was Sports Card Investor or a few accounts posted about it on their page, is now an $800-900 card. I have one for auction. It's at $900 with 5 days left. And this is just the base card. There's tons of this card out there. There's tons sitting at PSA right now.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you. And I'm sitting here thinking, there's a ton of supply. Shaq doesn't have just one rookie card. He has 3 or 4. It's during the beginning of the junk wax era, and the hobby doesn't care about centers. And the only reason that this card has shot up 2x in the last 2-3 weeks is because some prominent social media influencers are posting about it.
So that's the part I disagree with. So I agree with Shaq's a tough investment for 2 reasons. Number one, he's a center. And number 2, he's junk wax era. And it'll take me a half an hour to list all of the different sets that he had a rookie in. From Fleer to Ultra to Skybox to Hoops to, Upper Deck to Tops to, there's no shortage of it. It is legit, like you said, right into the junk wax era, 100%. And you'd even say, centers don't get much love. It's few and far between the centers that get hobby love. The big guys right now are not getting love at all.
And pause real quick.
Yep.
The reason my theory is that Hakeem and Wilt, but Hakeem specifically, I don't want elite. Wilt is like an icon, but the reason why Hakeem, I believe, gets love is because he's in an iconic set. In the 1986 Fleer, he has one rookie, not even a rookie, but a rookie. Yep.
He has the one card for people to chase, and that makes the Shaq tougher also. But I wouldn't say there's no demand for Shaq. I mean, Shaq's about as relevant as they come. I consider him a top 10. You want to stretch a top 15 NBA player of all time. I have a soft spot, my generation does, because he was the Zion, the LeBron of the time. That was the guy. You had Jordan, then you had Shaq. For hobby, he exploded, the basketball hobby. I mean, people were not buying basketball. Nobody cared. Even when Jordan was there in 86, those cards were irrelevant. It was Shaq that brought everybody into the hobby in 1992. And that was the explosion of basketball cards, at least the first explosion, the same way that I think LeBron did in 2003. My focus is just on the one card that I focused on, which was the Upper Deck card number 1, the black border, the black card, which I don't care how many there are PSA. There's not going to be many 10s because it's just a very difficult card to grade. And there's only 300 or so of the cards out there in PSA 10. It's not the Topps card. But my concern on it is it's easy to chase Jordan. It's easy to chase Montana and Rice and Olajuwon and whoever else because they have a rookie card. Even the Mariano Rivera card, which we could talk about if you like, from our reels today. If you haven't checked that one out, it was a silly dad joke, Mo Money, Mariano Rivera song on there. But it's getting a lot of plays. But you're right. I mean, I've mentioned this card. I mentioned this card to Gary Vee many times when it was $500.
This is one of your favorite cards.
It is one of my favorite cards, definitely, because he's one of my favorite players and one of my favorite personalities. Because, and just to digress and tangent, which would be my nickname if he gave me one, right? That's what Lefko called me, right? He stands for everything the podcast stands for. You know what I mean? We're sports cards. We're sports. We're talk, but we want to add value to people. This is Lucas, Tigers, and Browns. We want to add value, right? But Shaq is a guy. If you haven't researched Shaq, haven't read an article about Shaq, he's one of those guys that everybody should aspire to, right? Because he was not stupid with his money. I mean, the guy sits on the board of Papa John's. He owns like 9,000 businesses. He took his money and invested it wisely and was an entrepreneur. Shaq, it's way more than just the backboard breaking dunks and the many championships. It's more than carrying Kobe for 3 championships. I mean,
Shaq's the top 5 player of all time, and you're absolutely right. And he's hilarious too, dude.
Yeah,
he's a funny dude.
Yep. So I love the card, but you're right. There are definitely.
Do you think Shaq is cardboard relevant though, using your term?
So I do, but I think for a wrong reason. I think that there's too many. So I love the discards that get 300. We talked about. I mentioned this to Gary, and Gary was like, "No, I don't like that one. I like the beam team." Right? And I'm like, "Okay, well, then buy the beam team." And the beam team got talked up, and the beam team was $10,000 for some time, right? So that is the trouble with it, right? So why the Jordan card is flying is because that's the Jordan card, and you call it the Jordan card. But you and I, we talk about what's Shaq's rookie. There are 3, 4, 5 different people who are going to have 3, 4, 5 different evaluations. Some people say the top. Some people say they want the top's gold. Some people say they want the beam team. They want the stadium club. Some people say they want the card I want. So it's definitely it's, I don't call it a conundrum, but if you add up all of that supply, it's difficult to have Shaq's cards go up. But you said Shaq's cards are going up because of it being pumped or it being talked about by social media, by InvestiCard. I honestly don't think that's the case. I think that all cards are going up. And I think Shaq, all of his cards are just riding that tidal wave that's happened over the last week, 2 weeks, month, 18 months, you name it. I think it's really hit an apex now. And we've talked about this quite a few times on our podcast, right? We've talked about how, the way that human nature is hey, if Michael Jordan's $150,000, then LeBron is a steal at 10 grand, right? And if LeBron's a steal at 10 grand and LeBron goes to 20, well, then Kobe's cheap at 8. Kobe should be 20. LeBron goes to 30. Kobe should be 20. And then, let me look. But if Jordan is $150,000, Charles Barkley is cheap at 8. He should be 15 or 20. And Dominique Wilkins is cheap at 7. And let's look at Tim Duncan and Iverson, and let's look at Vince Carter, and let's look at Shaq. So I mean, while I'm sure that Topps card has been quote unquote pumped, I think that people look at Shaq and say that card was $3,000. Are you kidding me? There's 300 of these. I could buy 10 Shaq rookie cards for the price of one LeBron. And there are people out there who would say, all right, I think Shaq is where I want to put my money. Maybe I'll buy a couple of these. And that's why you've seen the thing go from 3 to 5 to, I believe that card is 10. I've been saying it's going to be 10 the whole time, but selling it like an idiot.
Here's the thing. Let's talk about Dwayne Wade for just a
Wade also. Wade's cards are going up.
I think that there are players that are on another level. So LeBron, Kobe, and Jordan are just another class of athletes that are so iconic that people want their card. I don't believe Shaq is that iconic when it comes to cards. I think all of the things that you mentioned about him are true. I just think when it comes to hobby relevance, cardboard relevance, he doesn't have that staying power, that lasting power that's going to drive that upper deck card from 10,000 to 20 to 30 to 40. I think you were absolutely right. It was a $10,000 card. It probably will be a $15,000 to $20,000 card, but I see it having a really, really low ceiling relative to like a Jordan or a LeBron Chrome, which also carries with it a premium price tag, but has a much higher ceiling. That's what I guess I'm saying. Like, I think you'd be better off selling 4 Shaqs for $40K and investing in a LeBron Topps Chrome, because I think that card could be a $100,000 card. Whereas the Shaq upper deck, I just don't think will ever have enough demand to really push it through the figures that would make sense for you to keep holding it.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. Listen, at the time, just to kind of, factor it out, at the time that I was buying Shaq initially, it was a 2-to-1 ratio. So you could buy 2 of those Shaq upper decks for the price of 1 LeBron. And for a while, they kind of ran in that same number until last year when the Shaq was 3,000 and LeBron was 7,500 or 10. So it has stretched to 3-to-1. The way I look at it now, if the LeBron is $36,000, the Shaq should be 12 if it's maintaining 3-to-1. And if so that, to me, I'm just trying to do math. I'm not looking at a lot of the other stuff. Shaq does not. LeBron doesn't just have one rookie card. There is one that has been held out head and shoulders above all the others. Same with Kobe. I think this is the one. I think this is the one upper deck one that should be held. The upper deck is the Shaq one that should be held out head and shoulders above. But I think you talked me into it. I do have 4 of them. Maybe I'll sell one.
I think should is a different word. though. Like I think a lot of things should happen, but the reality is the market is what the market is, right? Like if you think you're ahead of the market, so be it. But
Yep.
you have been ahead of the market if you think about it.
Yes.
You
Yep.
got these for $500. So like,
Yep.
how much more ahead of the market do you think that you can be with a card? Do you think it's a $50,000 Shaq?
Maybe the pop is almost the same as the Jordan. I know it's not the same card.
But the demand, no one in China is like, hey, I need to have a Shaq card. No one in Europe is like, I need to have a Shaq card. No hedge fund guy that took over his dad's trust is like, I need to have a Shaq card. They're like, I need to have the Jordan Fleer so I can post it on my social media and show off that I'm a player in the card hobby. No one buying a Shaq card and posting it on their social media page is like evoking the response of, yo, I'm a player, because no one even knows the value of that card off the top of their head.
Right. No, you're right. You're 100% right. It's not as iconic a card, and it's not one of those that, that stops and starts the conversation. But I guess neither was Kobe or LeBron before last year. I mean, literally 2 years ago, you get that LeBron card for $2,500. $1,000. I was buying it for $1,000. And Kobe, I remember having this conversation. And listen, I'm not a Kobe guy, so we are where we are, right? But when Kobe passed a year ago, I remember people running up his Chrome card to like from $2,000 to $3,000, and saying this exact sentence: people are going to regret running that card up to $3,000 because they're going to realize it's his autographs they should be chasing, not his base card. Nothing happened now to create a scarcity of those cards. Those cards are out there, right? However many cards, it didn't change that it was yes. Now I was so wrong about that, obviously, right? Imagine, a year, but it's been a year. What's the Kobe go for now? 20, 25? The Chrome in PSA 10? I mean, it's absurd, right? And it was $3,000.
In my head, yes. And I'm thinking about that card the greening on that card is no joke, right?
Nope. That's why but the market tells you you're wrong and tells me I'm wrong. I like that Topps 50th because the pop is the same as the refractor. And what's a refractor, Kobe, now? $300,000? Yeah. So
I love it, Cage. I love these discussions. Do you have a play for our audience today?
I do have a play. I do have a play today.
What do you make? So you've tracked releases for a long time. There's the hoops cards released, NBA 2020 hoops class, or is it 2021? 2021
Yeah.
hoops class.
It's 2021, yeah. So,
but it's the 2020 draft class. Confusing. Okay. Anyway,
so last year's class would be 1920.
So this is
so this is 20-21. It's confusing because it's also the year 2021.
Right. So LaMelo cards are selling for like $250, $260 coming straight out the pack. Whereas, and this actually might dovetail into my play, but $260 for an NBA hoops card of LaMelo Ball. It's his first uniform. It's his first professional uniform card. So there is that. But hoops cards traditionally, like if you're looking at Luka, Trey, Zion, and Ja, those are like 10 to 20, 30, $40 cards raw. Luka's maybe over 100 because people love Luka. That's a crazy amount for a raw card for NBA hoops release. Kate, what do you make of this?
Well, I mean, listen, it's a pent up, built up demand for it, right? So, I don't love it, but $265 for LaMelo's first card, you name it. People were paying crazy money for LaMelo's draft card and his parallels of his draft card, right? So this at least now is a Panini release with his jersey on. It's the first one. It becomes the LaMelo stock until something better comes along, right? And that is the warning sign, I guess, for today, right? It's very possible that he continues playing at the clip he's playing. He's playing really well. I was not sold on him, but he's playing really well. And now with Rozier a little hurt, he might even have more time. He's in the starting lineup and you name it. But it doesn't surprise me, right? I mean, people have seen what these cards sell for. But yeah, I sold a Luka PSA 10 hoops for I think $299 this week. So I mean, you're talking about a raw, straight out of the pack LaMelo hoops for basically the same price as a PSA 10 Luka. What does that tell you?
Well, it
So
tells me to start looking somewhere. And where I started looking was, I was like, okay, so people are going to start searching hoops. They're going to be talking about hoops. Let me take a look at Ja and Zion's hoops cards. And no doubt they're going to be picked through. But my play today isn't actually to get these graded. It's to flip them. Cage could jump in here because he knows this better. He monitors all the platforms. Whether Star Stock is going to accept hoops cards or not, that changes. But my play is a standard flip game. So Ja Morant, NBA hoops cards. Kate, do you want to guess how much they're selling for an auction right now?
you're talking about raw ones?
Yep, Raw or the NBA hoops. So they have the NBA hoops and the NBA hoops tribute.
The tribute's probably less, but I don't know. Hoops job rookie, maybe $20, $25.
So the tribute sold on auction for $4, and that was good quality, good condition. And then the regular sold for $10.
$10
Yeah.
for a Ja Hoops rookie from last year.
Yep.
And it's $265 for LaMelo.
Yep.
Wow. Sure. That makes sense. Makes a whole lot of sense.
It's a bargain, right?
It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Yeah. And Zion is listed $15.99 or buy it now. So,
Is it because people believe that they get a LaMelo right now, that it's not picked through? It clearly hasn't been sent to PSA and hasn't been rejected yet. Whereas people's thoughts are any Zion or Ja that's still on eBay has already been picked through. It's got problems. It's got issues. Is that part of it?
it's got to be that, but I also think like it's the modern dipping. It's the modern market dipping. So if you're even buying into the modern market while it's dipping, you're probably going for Prism. No one's searching for raw hoops right now. Raw hoops were traditionally like, I'll throw that into my bulk sub, and if it comes back at 10, I'll send it away. But I think now it's kind of like a zig while they zag with a very low entry point. So I don't think people are looking for it. So there's not a ton of demand. Auctions are ending with 2 to 3 bids on them. So you could scoop one super, super cheap. You could be the one bid auction winner, and you could get a Zion for here's 15 or best offer. And Ja is right below that at $10-11. I would play the ComC game. I would play the Star Stock game. I don't know if they're accepting NBA hoops cards. I think they will. I think they just know that that's the move. But yeah, I would just play the flip game. And if you get one in the mail that actually is like, you're like, I looked over this is gradable, throw it in your bulk sub. That's $100 card in a PSA 10 in a market like this that's dipped. So that's my play. Ja or Zion, or frankly, Trey. I'll throw that in for NBA hoops cards that are like 8, 9, 10, $11.
Yeah, they're good flips. I remember walking into an LCS by me and buying up a stack of base hoops, Trays and Lucas and Zions. I didn't get a single Zion 10 though. It's amazing how it happened. Same guy, same box break, same the whole deal. And I got 15 out of 18 on the Trays and 0 out of 9 on the Zions. It's just in the same sub. So it's crazy how stuff works sometimes. I love the play. I really do, because that's like a nice bargain, placement play. Would you consider, if you had that 265, buying a PSA 10 of each of those guys instead of one raw LaMelo?
John Morant 10s were $100. A LaMelo ungraded hoops was 265. There's no way that gets paid for.
I mean, it might. You never know. Somebody wants to be the first one to have it and flash it on their gram. Who knows? I mean, the whole thing's crazy.
The thing with hoops cards, they just don't appreciate. They really don't. 10s don't appreciate. Like I remember Tyler Hero, his PSA 10 hoops went from like 50 to 80. And this was back in August when the market was going up. So it's not a card that will really appreciate in the 10 because no one really wants it.
All right. Well, I mean, it makes sense. And it's a cool flip, and it's a cool play on money going on right now. So I'm going to stick with basketball. And this is a watch and see what happens kind of thing, because, modern is modern. But, if you happen to be taking some money off the table, you happen to be somebody who's buying who's selling a Shaq card, right? And he's selling his Shaquille O'Neal, and he hopes to get $10,000 for it, right? A card that he paid $550 for 2 years ago. I'm thinking to myself, there are cards that I missed out on at $550 and I should have bought. Maybe cards that Gary Vee told me I should have bought and I was late on. And maybe I now turn a card that is going on the up to a card that's going on down. So do you remember at its peak how much Giannis's 2013 Prism PSA 10 was?
At its peak?
Yep.
7,000.
Yeah, about $7,000. Right? Do you know what some recent ones have sold for in the last couple of days?
I'm really low on Giannis. He hasn't
I
looked
know.
good.
I know.
2,500 probably.
Yeah, so like $3,300, and I think your $2,500 number is something that could come into focus. It could be there. The card could get down there. So my play is keep an eye on Giannis and other guys, but Giannis specifically, right? Because Giannis gets lumped into the prism crap that we have going on now with Luka and Zion and Ja, but there is not the same pop of Giannis PSA 10s from 2013, right? 5, 6, 7 years before the grading craze that we have now. The pop is lower. And Giannis is still 26, 27. He's still, he's still growing. He's still doing his thing. And eventually he'll play in a league where there is no LeBron. And he's going to win a title. And he'll get back to the MVP form and all the other fun stuff that he's already won. People are going to look towards Giannis again. It might not be this year. It might not be next year even. But if I am going to sell a card that I paid $550 for, that I'm going to sell for $10,000 in Shaq, I am going to look for 4 $2,500 Giannis PSA 10s. And I'm going to recreate, get in my time machine from 2 years ago, where I didn't put that $550 into Shaq. I'm going to buy 4 Giannis's that cost me $100, 100 and change each. And I'm fine with that. I've never gotten a Giannis. I will tell you why I like this play, because we monitor the Giannis stuff. I bought a raw one in my LCS for like $300. And I sent it in and I graded it. I think I did, like a 5-day when they still were turning those around in a couple weeks. And, it's Ian's card. We're going to send it in for him. He likes Giannis. He's got his shoes and the whole deal. It came back at 9. And I remember when we were tracking Ian's cards last year, trying to look at the pricing on the stuff, that card was over $3,000. I think $3,400 we wrote it down as for a 9, right? You can get a 10 cheaper than that now. So I'm keeping my eye on that. There are some scariness there. Right? You can get a 9 under $1,000 by the way right now. For the card that was $3,400. The scariness is we talk about momentum. And it's hard once you lose that hobby momentum to get it back. That's why vintage stuff is crazy, right? Because the momentum doesn't go away. Like Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon and Dominique Wilkins are not disappointing on the court this season, like Giannis is, right? So those cards don't get blown up and then drop down because he's just not doing what you thought he was going to do. There was that little bit of, people were all over Giannis and now they're not. They've moved on to other things. They've moved on to other players. I think he's got another 10 years, 12 years, who knows, in the league. And it'd be silly to give up on a guy who has already had the ability to go up to like $7,000 for that card when you could buy it for a third or near a third of what it was at. So I'm not buying yet. This is a card I think was selling for $4,000 last week, but I've noticed the last couple of auctions have really come down on him. I think I saw 3,300, 3,200. So I'm keeping an eye on him, and if it falls, I'm going to pounce on some Giannis cards. That's my play. It doesn't have to be your 10, guys. I don't like giving you plays that are thousands of dollars. You want to grab a 9? You can grab a 9 now for less than $1,000. It's a good play. Go ahead.
It's interesting. I think Giannis has caused a lot of pause in investors. I think they've lost a little bit of faith in him. But
they've lost money. They've lost money. That's what happens. Investors lose faith when they lose money, right? The people were buying this. I know people who bought that card for $6,800, $6,900.
But at the same time, you have a 26-year-old, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, someone who's consistently getting better. He has all the intangibles. Even if it's just a down year for Giannis, you might be getting a card that's super cheap, and you shouldn't compare this to other modern Prism cards, in my opinion, because of the pop. It's so much lower pop than any Luka, Zion, Ja, or Trey.
Yep.
So even if you believe that Giannis is just slightly better than those guys, his card should be in the proper ratio relative to the pop of the other guys. So it's interesting. I've lost a little bit of faith in Giannis watching his game, but at the same time, if you're thinking as an investor, maybe now is the time to buy.
Oh, I mean, listen, you could probably find a trade partner and trade a Trey Silver right now for a Giannis base. Think about what you're saying there, right?
I would assume there's less base than Giannis's than Trey Silver's, or right around the same amount.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the pop on it because I can never get 2018 Prism to open. So there's so many people looking at it and so many cards in there that it just crashes every time I open up the PSA page. I've literally never been able to open up 2018 Prism. I've talked about this before. I just can't get it open. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's similar pop on those. And there's going to be more trays continuing to come this year from grading and whatnot, and there's not going to be that many Giannis's.
There's only 9,000 2013 Prisms graded in general, which is crazy. Total. There's 2,467 PSA 10s of the Giannis. Now, you got to assume that there's probably right around the same amount of BGS, 9.5s. But that's right around how many silvers. That's really interesting. I like that card also. The design of it is really cool. I think it's a really interesting play right now, Cage. If you guys have
something to watch,
the Giannis silver, the Giannis prism, it's not even called a silver then. That's an iconic card in my opinion. It's one of the nicer looking prism cards ever made, and that has a pop of probably less than 100. I would actually venture to say it's less than 50. 74 PSA 10s of the silver. So very interesting play.
That hasn't come down as much. That'll still run you over 30 grand.
It's a hard card. There's only 74, you know. And I know a few people who own it. Rips is probably one of them, right?
Yep. Although I don't know if he has a silver. I know he has all the colors. I know he has an orange, right? I know he has all kinds of other ones. I don't know whether he maintains too many bases and silvers. I think he's too smart for that. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, listen, this is you have to be aware of the market, right? And right now, vintage seems to be flying, and the modern stuff is not, it's not flying. But people will start to look at it again because there are bargains, just like your hoops play. I mean, John Morant PSA 10 hoops, you get 3 of them for the price of a raw LaMelo hoops. Come on now.
So Cage, I brought the play for the everyday Joe, and you bring a
expensive one.
$1 play. That's not fair. That's not how it's supposed to be. All right, Luca Nation.
That's more of the same. That's not change.
Name that movie.
That's more of the same. No, that's Joe Biden and Obama's initial platform. Remember? That's not change. That's more of the same. No, huh? I think they're interviewing Joe Biden in the Super Bowl lead up, the Super Bowl pregame show.
Oh, they are?
Fun. Yep. He's not going to remember it, but I think they're interviewing him.
You're an idiot. We love
it. Bye, Luca Nation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for spending some time with us on another episode of the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe. You know what? Don't just like and subscribe. Everybody does that. If you like us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And we hope you got something from spending some time with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.